They moved in silence. No breaking news. No CNN ticker. No Twitter frenzy. No public warnings. But beneath that calm and calculated exterior, something seismic just happened, and almost no one saw it coming. Three of the most powerful financial regulators in the United States, the Federal Reserve, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, OCC, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, have just pulled the trigger on a coordinated move that could quietly reshape the future of global finance. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. And make no mistake, this wasn't some routine policy update. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't background noise. This was strategic, deliberate, and XRP is positioned at the very center of it all. While the public debates ETFs and meme coins, while the media distracts you with noise and headlines that miss the bigger picture, the true financial reset has already begun, deep within the plumbing of the banking system. They've just laid the groundwork for on-chain liquidity, instantaneous cross-border settlements, and tokenized assets to move seamlessly through the veins of the existing financial infrastructure. This isn't some speculative future. This is active integration happening in real time behind closed doors with the quiet approval of institutions you were taught to trust. And if you still think XRP is just a tool for cheap remittances, you're not just misinformed, you're dangerously late. This is no longer about price predictions. This is about geopolitical leverage, monetary sovereignty, and who controls the rails of value exchange in a fully digitized economy. Because when this shift becomes obvious, when it hits the mainstream, the opportunity window won't just close, it will vanish. The prices you're scoffing at today could soon become the "if only I had bought then" regrets of tomorrow. So ask yourself, do you want to react to change or get in front of it? Because what I'm about to show you in this video, the documents, the signals, the connections, may not just be informative. It might be the wake-up call that defines the next decade of your financial life. Let's dig in while there's still time to act. They moved in silence. No front-page headlines. No breaking news. No viral thread to warn the public. Just silence, the kind that blankets the room before a storm. There was no televised urgency. No economic summit broadcast to the world. No dramatic announcement with suits and flags and flashing cameras. But something did happen. Something massive. Beneath that silence, beneath the illusion of calm, a coordinated movement was unfolding. Not in the public eye, but in the shadows of bureaucracy and boardrooms. Three of the most powerful financial entities in the world, the Federal Reserve, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, OCC, and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, were not asleep. They were not idle. They were executing. Quietly, methodically, and with surgical precision, these gatekeepers of the U.S. financial system triggered a sequence. A policy shift, a structural alignment, a legal green light that now threatens to redefine how money flows, settles, and moves across borders and institutions. And here's what's terrifying for those who aren't paying attention. There was no warning. No press conference, no viral headline to chase, just pure institutional execution, buried in legal language and multi-page documents the average investor never reads, and likely never will. But those who did notice, those who knew what to look for, they understand this was never random. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't some minor compliance update. This was strategic warfare in financial form. A silent revolution executed with precision, designed to reshape the financial architecture of the world, without sparking panic, speculation, or resistance. And while retail traders were distracted by the noise, NFTs, meme coins, Fed rate speculation, this quiet revolution was already underway. Because when the most powerful regulators in the American financial system move in harmony, they are not reacting. They are signaling. They are preparing. And at the center of it all, embedded in this transition like a sleeper agent ready to be activated, is XRP. This is the moment where silence wasn't absence. It was intent. And while most people were waiting for a headline to tell them what to believe, the future of finance was already being rewritten. This wasn't random. This wasn't some bureaucratic shuffle, another stack of meaningless memos, or a routine government update to be skimmed and forgotten. No, this was a quiet detonation. A strategic move, cloaked in policy speak and technical guidelines, deliberately designed to fly under the radar. But for those who understand the deeper mechanics of financial systems, the message rings like a siren. Everything is changing. Three of the most powerful financial entities in the United States, the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, and the OCC, didn't just meet. They moved in synchrony. And when regulators of this magnitude act in lockstep, it's not theory. It's not testing. It's not discussion. It's execution. The OCC, the gatekeeper of the nation's largest commercial banks, issued a subtle yet powerful confirmation. Banks can now custody crypto assets, issue stablecoins, and plug directly into blockchain-based networks. They added rules, yes, but not to restrict innovation, to prepare the rails, to install guardrails for full-scale integration. Because this isn't about retail, it's about institutional adoption at scale. Then came the FDIC, the federal body responsible for protecting depositors and maintaining trust in the banking system. They didn't just acknowledge digital assets. They moved to define their place within the banking framework, clarifying their relationship to insured deposits and offering a roadmap for secure onboarding of tokenized systems. This is more than guidance, it's a green light dressed as regulation. And finally, the Federal Reserve, the same Fed that dismissed crypto as experimental for over a decade. Now they're launching FedNow, a real-time, always-on settlement system. And while they claim it's not crypto, the blueprint tells a different story. FedNow mimics the architecture of ISO 20022 compliant networks. It mirrors the XRP Ledger's speed and scalability. It introduces instant clearing and settlement, the very core principles blockchain was built on. These developments are not isolated. They are synchronized movements of a machine preparing to shift gears, from legacy finance to digital settlement infrastructure. And here's the part most people will miss. Every guidance note, every policy update, every regulatory framework published, they're not just announcements, they're activation codes. Whispers to institutional players. The rules are taking shape. The barriers are falling. The ecosystem is warming up. Get in position. Because what's coming next will not wait for the average investor to catch up. The era of 3-day wire delays, costly SWIFT intermediaries, cross-border inefficiencies, and liquidity shortages is crumbling. In its place, a real-time, borderless, programmable economy. An economy built not on promises, but on ledgers. XRP, XLM, HBAR, and other ISO 20022 native tokens aren't side projects anymore. They are the pipes, the energy, and the plumbing behind what's coming. Still think XRP is just for remittances? Still think HBAR is for nerds and XLM is an altcoin footnote? You're not seeing the full picture. Because when the top of the U.S. financial system aligns its tools, tunes its language, and prepares its institutions for real-time digital settlement, they're not speculating. They're not experimenting. They're deploying. And they just made the loudest move in modern finance without saying a single word. The Trojan horse already inside the gate. What makes this so dangerous and so powerful is how quietly it's happening. You weren't supposed to notice. The headlines were distracted with inflation numbers, rate hikes, and political theater. Crypto Twitter was busy chasing meme coins and influencer drama. And while the noise raged on, the Federal Reserve, the OCC, and the FDIC were engineering a shift in financial infrastructure that most people won't understand until it's far too late. And at the center of this silent evolution, liquidity, settlement, speed, compliance. All things XRP was built to deliver from day one. This isn't some sudden pivot. This is the result of years of testing, lobbying, and regulatory positioning, all pointing toward a tokenized financial ecosystem where blockchain isn't an outsider anymore. It's the framework. They're not trying to replace the system. They're upgrading it, and XRP is being slotted in like a Trojan horse that's already inside the gate. Checks every box. Instant cross-border settlement with near-zero fees. Regulatory clarity through years of legal battles. Interoperability with CBDCs, stablecoins, and traditional rails. Scalability proven in real-world institutional pilots. You think the Fed doesn't see that? You think the OCC doesn't know what's coming? You think the FDIC greenlights policy without strategic intent? The shift isn't coming. It's already in motion. And XRP isn't some alternative coin in their eyes. It's a tested tool with utility, infrastructure, and global partners lining up behind it. Here's the hard truth. The regulators aren't scrambling to catch up. They're leading the transition, and XRP is part of their plan. But here's the catch. They won't shout it from the rooftops. They won't give retail investors the luxury of clarity. They'll wait until everything is in place, and then flip the switch. And when that happens, it'll be too fast to react to. By the time your favorite YouTuber breaks the news, the value will already be repriced. So don't wait for confirmation from people who missed the signal themselves. You're looking at it right now. This is your confirmation, because the door is still open, but the hinges are starting to creak. And soon, it slams shut. They want you too late, not too early. Let's be clear. This was never designed to be a fair playing field. You were never meant to be this early. Retail wasn't supposed to connect the dots, because true generational shifts don't happen in the spotlight. They happen quietly, and then all at once. And right now, you're in the rarest window in financial history, standing at the edge of a paradigm shift where the old money rules are being rewritten in real time. But here's the twist. They don't want you in position before the reset. They want you distracted, divided, and disbelieving, until the moment has passed and the price reflects their new reality. That's why they suppress it. That's why XRP was dragged through lawsuits and lawsuits again. That's why the media echoes narratives of risks, delistings, and unregistered securities while ignoring government trials, central bank pilots, and real-world adoption. You're not late. You're just early enough that your conviction still costs you something. That's how you know it's real. Because every major breakthrough in history, from the internet to Bitcoin, looked like a gamble before it looked like genius. And the same pattern is repeating now. Look around. BlackRock is loading up on tokenized real-world assets. The World Bank is studying interoperability protocols. The IMF is openly discussing cross-border blockchain rails. The Fed, OCC, and FDIC just pushed guidance that opens the gates for regulated digital settlement. And XRP sits in the middle with years of head start and the legal clarity other assets still dream of. But the biggest mistake you can make is waiting for mainstream confirmation. Because by the time you see XRP on CNBC with flashing green arrows and bullish hosts grinning about how obvious it was, the real upside will already be gone. See, this isn't about hype anymore. This is about architecture. The plumbing of the new system is being installed, and XRP isn't a speculative token to them. It's infrastructure. You're not here by chance. You saw what most missed and felt what most ignored. Now the only question is, will you act while the window is still open? Or will you be watching from the outside, telling yourself, I almost saw it coming? History doesn't send invitations. It leaves breadcrumbs. Subtle signals, policy shifts, sudden alignments that only a few recognize before the wave hits. What the Federal Reserve, the OCC, and the FDIC just did wasn't a routine update. It was a structural maneuver, the kind that rewires how value will flow, how banks will operate, and how global liquidity will be managed in this next era. And standing in the middle of it is XRP. This is no longer about speculation. It's about infrastructure. It's about regulatory green lights being switched on after years of silence and suppression. And it's about a technology that's been battle-tested, ridiculed, regulated, and now silently woven into the architecture of tomorrow. You are standing at a threshold that most people will only understand in hindsight. They'll talk about how it suddenly happened, how XRP came out of nowhere, how they never saw it coming. But you did. You were here. You saw the signals. You read between the lines. So the real question now isn't what happens next. The real question is what you'll do about it. Will you wait for the media to validate it? Will you wait for your favorite influencer to finally echo what you already feel in your gut? Will you sit on the sidelines while banks and regulators quietly embrace the very asset that retail once doubted? Or will you act? Will you go deeper than surface headlines, Read the white papers, follow the filings, study the policy shifts. Will you take a position, even a small one, before the rules are rewritten in plain sight? Because this is no longer about being early to a hype cycle. It's about being aligned with the architecture of what's coming. This is about seizing asymmetric opportunities in moments of mass confusion. The doors are not wide open yet, but they're cracked. And in every financial paradigm shift, it's those who move during the uncertainty who reap the rewards during the clarity. You have a window. It's narrow. It's noisy, but it's real. History will look back on this period, not as a blur of news cycles and speculation, but as the moment when the future of finance was quietly secured. And the ones who paid attention, they won't just survive the shift, they'll lead in the aftermath. Choose your side, and make it count.